What's up, guys? It's the Essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Nova Lee.
And you guys are tuned into Caught
In Conversation.
Shaka Laka Laka. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 132, a Screendoor on a Submarine. I am the Essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Nova Lee.
And the reason we have picked that for the title is because our guest today, the one and only Torture, one half of the Torture and Trauma Services, said that he is, quote, as useful as a screen door on a submarine. So I just kind of shortened it a little bit so it would fit a bit better. And it's an old classic Aussie expression. I also like the old expression useless as tits on a ball. That's what my dad used to say. Or tits on a ball, people used to always say as well, because those things are absolute psychos. Maybe even more psycho than a bull. But yeah, this is a very, very fun conversation that went kind of in a few different directions, but obviously it wouldn't be the CICPod if it didn't go all over the place. There's a reason we say ranting, reviewing and marking out. It just is what it is. We talked about Torture's career up until this point, the comeback from the injury, went on a bit of a rant about cancel culture and some people that shouldn't be cancelled and other people's that should but they aren't, and man, it went all over the place, but it was a great fun. Honestly, we seem to keep saying this every week, Nova, but every week now we say, boy, that was the funnest conversations we've had. But yeah, honestly, they just, for some reason, they just seem to keep getting better and better. And I don't know if I can keep living up to this. Like, I don't know if I'm cut out to be a professional podcaster. As much as I'd like to be, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm really enjoying these conversations.
Yeah, me too.
Really enjoying these conversations.
There's definitely something in the water.
Definitely something in the water. But Nova Lee, if you'd like to do the song and match of the week, you can explain the song, I'll explain the match, and then we'll jump straight into this. You can give your little introduction and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, give us the song and match of the week, and then we'll get into this conversation with Torture, because we ranted enough in this conversation, so let's get into it.
Alrighty. So your song of the week for episode 132 was Pink Pony Club by Chaperone, and your match of the week was Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania 38.
Now, would you like to explain, Nova Lee,
yes,
why you picked this song for Torture's episode of all things?
Okay, so usually we try and tailor the song to the guest, but we didn't really mention music as much. It was very wrestling heavy conversation. So I'm like, ooh, stumped on a song, was like, okay, you know what? Fire the gun straight at me. You know what I'm going to pick? I'm going to pick the song that has been stuck in my head on repeat, and that is Pink Pony Club by Chaperone. And
the reason that we have picked this match was we were trying to find another match. I could not find it fucking anywhere, because apparently the WWE event that it was on a pre-show. Just pre-show does not exist on internet anymore. I don't know what. But we picked this match because we talk about, Torture loves entertaining wrestling, and he loves comedy wrestling when done right. And obviously, this right here, this was honestly probably one of the matches of the night throughout both of those nights on WrestleMania 38. We had the run-in from a bunch of the Jackass crew. Wee Man comes in, body slams Sami Zayn. Johnny Knoxville just does not Johnny Knoxville stuff. And obviously, Sami Zayn, he can play just about any role. And just, honestly, this is if I was to do star ratings properly, this would be a 5-star match to me. Because through all the comedy, through all the bells and whistles, I was entertained, and there is some great wrestling thrown in. And considering Johnny Knoxville is not a wrestler, obviously, Sami Zayn did carry him for the most part, but Johnny Knoxville 100%, carried his load. I mean, Johnny Knoxville's even been in a Royal Rumble in the past as well. Like, Johnny Knoxville definitely did his part. But yeah, this great match. And I feel we both felt that it was kind of up Torture's alley sort of thing with the movie the moves and the wrestling that he's into. And yeah, that's why we've picked that. And would you like to just quickly recap the song and the match, Nova Lee?
Yeah. So the song for episode 132, again, was Pink Pony Club by Chaperone, and the match of the week was Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania 38.
I kind of got a bit long in the tooth there while I was trying to explain and justify why I picked that match. But basically, it's a great fucking match. It's a great comedy match, and
yeah,
and
solid.
Nova's
I like
just ADHD as fuck with the song choice is the situation, I guess.
Yeah. So So, blame me for the song choice, torture. Sorry.
While I take a breath and a minute to recover, I'm going to press this little button, and then you can get ready to do what you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's back from racking lines and fucking nines, representing torture and trauma services. It is Torture!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Torture. Torture, how are you doing this evening? We've just talked a little off air, but for the sake of the conversation that the people are going to hear, how are you doing tonight, mate?
We're doing good, mate. We're doing good. We're sitting out, we're racking lines, fucking nines on a fucking Tuesday. We're paying for the long weekends. We're paying for it, but we're okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've just got Nova just already dying in the corner. It's like, good thing is we're familiar with how this goes because of the True Story Thursdays.
Oh, yes. Expect a wild one.
For people that, that listen to the show regularly, we always ask the same kind of core 5 questions for first-time guests, and then we just throw some little bits and bobs in between. So the hard-hitting question is, it's not really that. It's just a good way to break the ice is just, what was your earliest wrestling memory, Torture?
Earliest wrestling memory. So it's not really a match per se. I remember a certain tag partner of mine, who's my biological uncle, we used to go, he had a big obsession, him and TNT, they used to have these big, just fucking cardboard boxes. And this was back when, tape trading was a massive thing. It was all still VHS and stuff like that. And we go over to his house in, I think it'd be the Rocks at the time, and we were just kids, and he'd throw them on there, and he was showing us stuff I had no idea who Pegasus Kid or Tiger Mask or any of these guys were at the time. Later, obviously, we find out who they are, and it's unbloody believable. But that would be my earliest wrestling memory. Would be sitting in this little room, and we'd be sitting there watching these tapes of random Japanese shit. To be honest.
So the follow-up to that is usually, how did you discover Aussie wrestling? But you just mentioned that you say your uncle, so you.
Trauma is my biological uncle. He's my mother's sister.
Well,
my mother's sister. Yeah. What? Actually, no. Leave that in. He's my mother's sister. Leave that in. You'll get a kick out of that. He's my mother's sister. Leave that in.
Honestly, knowing the banter that you and him had, I thought that was intentional. To be honest.
Hey, leave it in. He'll get a kick out of it. I'll get a phone call tomorrow going, that was great.
Have we just got the name of the episode straight off the bat? My mother's sister.
100%. My mother's sister. That's it. It's like my brother's keeper, but it's just my uncle's goldfish's long-lost sister-in-law.
So how did that come about? Is he just, as long as you knew, he was just always into the whole wrestling thing, or what?
Yeah, so we obviously, any kid probably back when, I think we'd all be stupid to say that the Attitude Era wasn't such a, it was a big thing, and we, like anybody, kids, you're wrestling on trampolines, you're wrestling in pools and all sorts, and then it wasn't until I got to about 10 or maybe 11 when I was first introduced to TNT. And, we just, he was really good to us then. So was Nathan. They took us to a lot of, me and my brother took us to a lot of shows and whatnot. My dad would take us as well if, Trauma was helping with ring crew and stuff like that. And, I remember, I remember my first original training was in TNT's backyard at the time. And then I copped an injury there, and then I sort of went back when I was probably 18, and he said, just looking out for me, because I was probably the same height as I was now, but I was probably 60 kilos, wringing wet, fully clothed, carrying the groceries. I was a string bean, looked like a grasshopper.
It's a funny fucking thing, because if people see you now, you're a big son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I honestly,
but compared to then, I was absolutely nothing. And then, TNT trying to, just protect me a little bit, said, man, you need to put some size on, you need to get big or you're going to get hurt. And that was his biggest thing, because he's known me from when I was a kid. He goes, I can't willingly do that to you. And if you got hurt, it's different than a guy that goes, I want to do this. And, they want to, not that there's anything wrong with people going, I want to do this and push their aspirations. He was just, it's like, there's a little bit more there when I've seen you grow up from a kid. Like, I can't willingly do that. And then, just as life went on, I figured out I was having my first child when I was 18, so obviously that took priority. And then I think when it was not long after I got divorced, I ran into TNT in the gym, and he goes, you should come back and finish it up and, tick it off the bucket list. And I was speaking the trauma in the gym, and he goes, hell, let's go. Let's both go back and tick it off the bucket list. And the rest is, for lack of a better word, not very well known, but the rest is history.
There you go. I think that kind of will transition, segue, I guess, into Nova's first question. So if you want to ask that question, so Torture can elaborate on it, then let's go.
So essentially, it was, what was the deciding factor that got you into the business, and when did you decide that you wanted to do it, Torture?
So really, like I said, I went in there when I was younger. I transitioned straight from rugby league. I played rugby league all my teenage and childhood years, and I know I've always been a fan of, I haven't done this, can I do it? If that makes sense. I need to know, can I actually do this thing? And when I was younger, I'm not going to lie, anyone that wants to tell you it doesn't is either one of the biggest and toughest son of a bitches I know, or two, is a fucking liar. The shit hurts. Whether they want to admit it or not, this shit hurts. And back being 50 kilos, the shit hurts.
Yeah, fuck.
And then when I got, when TNT asked me to, would I be interested, just, it was only really a feeling out thing. Jim goes, it was like more of a joke between mates. Should come back and finish it. And I was sort of like, well, at the time I was going through a pretty messy divorce and stuff, and the biggest thing I was struggling with just on a mental health standpoint was finding who I was, if that makes sense. Like, I was a husband and a dad for so many years full time. When your life gets turned upside down like that, I couldn't really grasp who Mitchell was. So I was like, maybe it gave me a reason between doing silly stuff in between the kids. It gave me a reason to not be carrying on or be out every night or anything like that. It was, I had to be in the gym. I had to be training. I had to be here. Nope, I can't go and get drunk this weekend, so I'm going here. And it kind of just gave me a secondary purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I dig it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And it all that was really it for me. It was, TNT, God damn it, I keep dropping his government.
That's all right. We all know who he is.
Yeah, like he put me through his paces. The one thing I did like, there was no favoritism whatsoever, which obviously Tobias, one of the guys I'm close with, he was in the same class as us. He will vouch for it. We got put through every bit of bloody pacing known to man. If anything, I think he was that little bit tougher at times just to get that point through of, hey, we may be mates, but you want something in this business, no one's giving you shit. And that's including him.
I can even attest to that. Like, I'm a fucking nobody, right? Like, I'm in no position to train people per se, but in terms of like encouraging and giving advice, some of my closest friends or my, young rookies, I feel like I'm the same. I'm that little bit harder, and it's like, it's not that I'm trying to be a dick, it's just that you see that little bit in them and you're like, look, I really want this for you. Like, pull your fucking finger out. Like,
100%. And TNT was big for that. He was big on, but just the little things that 9 times out of 10, obviously now I've been around Leicester and locker rooms, been around a lot of them. I've been around for a little bit, not as much as half these other guys, but the little things I'm finding that he was so pedantic on and becoming so valuable that are even outside the ring, like things like ring crew. It's like, like you need to be there. You need to show you're an asset, because that could be the difference between you having the same skill level, being just as good as someone else, but you're a bigger asset in that. 9 times out of 10, that can get you the spot. That can get you the booking. Like little things of just show up to a show and just showing up to a show, and you got your gear in your car, and it's like, oh, my mates are on this show. I'll come give them a hand. Oh shit, so and so's pulled out. You got your gear? Yep, off you go. Like the other thing that I've even started preaching it as fucking gospel myself is treating every show you're on like it's the fucking place. It's the shit to be at. You know what I mean? 'Cause you always market yourself, whether we like it or not. We all think we're fucking great, and I'm not going to lie, I think I'm Hulk Hogan. So if I'm on the damn thing, you should be eating your vitamins, saying your damn prayers, and coming out to see the torture show. So to treat, no matter what show it is, no matter who the promoter is, it's the when I'm going there, it's the biggest thing to be and to treat it as such. And I have to give TNT's props for that. He was the one that bestowed that knowledge into us and drilled it into our heads. Whether it was his show or someone else's, you treated it no different. This is how you work an AWF show. That's great. You go to the next place and you treat it the exact fucking same.
See, I can send me a test of that, because obviously, like, I was trained originally by Rex, and look, ICW gets shit on a lot by other Australian wrestling. It is what it is. We don't have great production, but in terms of secondhand training, Rex's first trainer in the business all those years ago was TNT, and that's another little thing that's kind of come down. Is, look, if there's people that don't aspire to be fucking, you know, rich and famous or whatever, they want to treat it as a hobby, that's fine. But in terms of when they're at the actual show, that goes out the door, because it's still a show and it's still business, and you will treat it as such. Like,
well, I think it's mostly, to me, even looking back at it now, I can watch a movie, let's say, and let's say, for instance, I'm watching Rocky Balboa, and I'm looking at Sylvester Stallone playing Rocky, and he looks like my local crackhead asking him if you got $2 to get on the bus down to Mount Druitt. I'm not really gonna bloody pay much interest.
That is a fucking
but it's, when you turn that person to larger than life, and it's someone you can relate to, and it's someone you can get behind, and that's wrestling. So for me, it's characters, it's gimmicks, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying it. I'm not too fussed on how perfect you could put on a wrist lock. Can you entertain me? So that's all I want. Like, personally, like, wrestling's like ice cream. That's all I want. Entertain me, whether it's if I laugh, whether it's I'm invested, whether I'm upset, whether I'm thinking, watching some big guy smack down a little bloody midget. I'm like, yeah, fuck this big guy. I want the midget to kick him in the nuts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, it doesn't matter. Just entertain me.
Without going on too much of a tangent, because this is your episode and I don't want to hijack it, but it's stemming off something you yourself have brought up. Someone that's currently trending, Joe Hendry. You even used it as an example, Torture. You were like, I don't even know what Joe Hendry's finisher was, and I just had to be a smartass in the comments and be like, well, actually, it's technically this, brother. But, like, it's the whole
but how
thing.
Good is it?
Like he's a tremendous worker. Like, he can do, like, everything, but he doesn't have to at the same time. Like, he just goes out there and he's larger than life, and that's a prime example right there of professional wrestling. Like, just...
Well, it was someone, I'm going to name drop him because I absolutely love him. There's a worker called Harvey Falco.
Yes, I love Falco.
Who
I meant to work with him recently, but he had to pull out because of personal issues.
I love Falco. If you're listening to this, Harvey, I love you to death. You are a great bloke. He was one of, and it was also the same advice I was given when I also wrestled Tristan Slade and Robbie Zuko, which was sometimes less is more. I think when I look back at what I've done, I think I'd always been bad for going, all right, well, I'm maybe went out on a chip on my shoulder once too many times and go, all right, sweet, I'm going to make sure this match is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I throw myself all over the shop to make it happen. Whereas I remember wrestling Falco at Kingdom, and I was like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll throw myself here. And he goes, no, you don't need it. I don't need 16 bumps. Give me 3 good ones. And now when I look back at my stuff to try and refresh what I actually do, because I've got no bloody idea, is bloody, you know, just how good he made that match and put that match together. And I didn't have to throw myself everywhere. I didn't have to wake up the next 3 days not being able to walk properly. And, you know, and Slade and Zuko was the same thing. It was just like, relax, we're going to do this. And it was working. It wasn't like they were trying to take the easy way out. It was like, no, you don't need to go up the top and miss the blockbuster again. We're going to do something different. And then you got the same result. And, you know, that was a real big eye-opener for me, where it was like, less is more. So, like, back to your point, Joe Hendry doesn't need to do. He doesn't need to go over and do a 450. Why does he need to do it? He doesn't. It's the same as Roman Reigns. We've seen him do bloody nothing but spears and Superman punches. And I was seeing on the internet the other day, they popped for a crucifix. All the smart marks are popping because he did a crucifix.
Yeah, I saw that, the wraparound counter to the spike where he fucking... It's like, we've seen him do that before, but because he doesn't do it often, it's like...
Well, even in the match, if you have a look, he did a crucifix pin where he just come up over the bro's shoulder, 1, 2, out, and everyone on the internet's going, oh my God, he did a crucifix. Have a look at the bloke. He's an athlete. Of course he can do a crucifix. But the fact that he was able to just make sure he did what he does, did what he does well, then suddenly just throws something else in there and he caused a storm with it. I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to throw myself around like a human pinata. Maybe I've been doing it wrong.
My next question for you is, where did the name Torture come from?
So I can't take credit for this. This is a brainchild of Traumas.
Right.
So Torture and Trauma Services was not our first pick. We were actually going to do a Weird Al parody at first.
Oh, that is
and we were just going to go have some fun. And TNT being probably a bit smarter than us and not as marky as we were obviously back then, going, listen, one of you is 100, one of you is 130. I can't go use out there being jokes. And it was kind of like, yeah, you know what? Fair play. I guess we can't be going out there looking like Doink the Clown when we're 230 odd kilos combined. And Trauma's come up with this brainchild of almost an underbelly. We're almost the people you call when you need a job done, but you don't know who to call. And without giving too much away, you'll have to keep your eyes peeled on Integrity, because I'm pretty sure that's going to show more as that goes on of where Torture, Trauma, and the whole tat shebang has originally came from.
Okay. Well, that's actually a good segue, because obviously, like, we're here to just talk about you in general, but the main reason we hit you up, and I hit you up a few weeks ago, and then Nova reached out again, was you've been rehabbing this injury. You're about to come back actually at Integrity on November 15th on their doubleheader with the 15-16, the what is it called? The To the Moon,
on
moon
the
landing, whatever it's called.
To the Moon tour,
the Trevor Lee tour, anyway. Some sort of play on his words.
Yeah, to the Moon tour.
To the Moon, but just tell us a little bit about that. Just kind of walk through. I know you have talked a little about it on True Stories, but just for the listeners here, what kind of, like, what actually happened here with the injury? And just tell us how you've been feeling and rehabbing, and basically what's your mental state as you kind of prepare for this comeback match on November 15th?
Okay, so the original injury happened at a Wrestling Go show. It was my original opponent pulled out, so I went into a gauntlet match. I did get pulled up. I had the arm taped, which I'll come out and say was a work. Like, the moment had attacked my arm on the previous show, so I wrapped the arm up to sell that they injured me originally. So anyone thinks I went in there injured, it was a complete work. I went in there perfectly healthy. And we're doing the gauntlet match. Everything's going according to cake. And I went up for the blockbuster to Joey, which I've hit this move more times than I can count, and I've missed the move twice as much as I can count. So it's a bump I'm fairly familiar with, fairly good with. And for whatever reason this day, when I went up, I didn't get the height I wanted. And I've just come down awkwardly straight on my neck and shoulder, which I've full credit to Scott Magnum, but come November, fuck him. But I tried to get back up, and I'm like, something's wrong, and he's just went, nope, stay down, and he's pinned me and got me out of there. Which then Trauma, then a couple of other blokes at Wrestling Go helped me get changed out and back into my gear. We kind of knew something wasn't right, and to be honest, I tried to downplay it because I knew I had Integrity in a couple of weeks. So I was almost in denial, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to. So, I didn't want it to be true. You know what I mean? I had a big, I had a big match coming up. It was going to be it was going to be one of them times where I could show I wasn't just a guy that could wrestle a rookie. I was going to be able to show what I believed and I could do. But obviously, when I've sort of texted my partner and said, hey, look, I think I'm hurt. I'll let you know when I get home. And she sends me a message going, you don't message me if you think you're hurt. Go to the hospital, you stupid piece of shit.
Smart woman.
Then when I proceeded to she don't pull her punches. And when I went to the hospital, I had 4 comminuted breaks through my right collarbone. Ooh. So the difference between a normal break and a comminuted break, which is something I learned, was a normal break, obviously the bone just splits in half. A comminuted, the bone, for less of a better word, explodes.
Fuck.
So in 4 places in my collarbone, it just went bang to dust. So I was obviously out. We were able to escape surgery, which was a gamble that we took because I'm a scaffolder by trade.
Okay, yep.
So if I did the surgery, because of the amount of screws I would have had to have put in, I wouldn't have been able to lift my right arm pretty much above my chest, which I got to work. That doesn't work for me, brother. Like, I've got to bloody figure something here. So we took good on the doctors. They let me take the gamble. We just ended up paying off, which a funny little side note, the week I broke my collarbone, it was less than a week later, I had to get also a 10 centimetre abscess taken out of my right leg. So that was a good little bloody stretch of time there.
Because I was about to ask you about that, because I remember you were like in hospital on one of the true story ones. I'm like, what the fuck was that surgery?
I learnt I was on that. I learnt I was on that episode after the fact.
You were on cloud 9. So
I do not remember that episode. I was still in recovery when that episode, and I decided I'd jump in
so that was for the abscess, was it?
Yeah, that was for the abscess, that one. So I had a drip coming out one end. I had this big shoelace-looking thing tied into my leg, and then I had my arm in another sling. So I was, trust me, I looked hot. Let's put it that way. I was not looking good. And then, it's just slowly gotten better. I was able to get back to work, and over the last, I don't know, I'd say probably the last maybe 4 months, or maybe not even that, maybe the last month or two, probably a better way to put it. AKEL reached out to me from the Australian Wrestling School, because AKEL's another guy I've got a lot of history with, I train with, and really good mates with. It said if I was ever looking just to roll around and test it out, feel free to come down. And I thought I'd roll around and whatnot, and everything was starting to move, and trauma sort of gave me the touch on the shoulder going, if you can make yourself ready by November, this is what I've got planned. So now it's just been balls to the wall, for lack of a better word. It's been, we've been good. I've still been, shout out to the Australian Wrestling School for really putting me through my paces and making sure I'm going to be okay to go. And we're going to be heading into a back-to-back. So we wrestle the 15th and the 16th. So there's no way to test out, no better way, to test out if it's going to be any good than wrestling 2 nights in a row.
It's one of those things with wrestling where at the end of the day, like, pun not intended, but it literally is make or break. I feel if you went, one show and then you had to wait another month for a show, I don't think you'd get as much out of the arm as you would with now doing the back-to-back shows, I think. Because like, even with like the pop-up festival shows, right, I feel like you do like 2 or 3 or 4 matches a weekend or whatever. I find they're always better than the do a match here and then you got to wait a month to do another match here. Like, yeah, you train, but you can't really get proper reps in my opinion, unless you're actually having an actual match.
I like training. I quite enjoy the aspect of training, if that makes sense. I like, because especially this one thing I think the Australian Wrestling School has done very well, you're not rubbing shoulders with the same guys all the time. Like, I'm rubbing shoulders with guys I've been in locker rooms with, but I've never been able to share a ring with. And, everyone has their opinions on each other. Then you get to roll with each other and go, hang on a minute. And it's a good little thing, like, I find it interesting. You can roll with certain guys and go, hey, there's something here. Like, I've got a bit of chemistry with this guy. If, buddy, we could work out a match here somewhere. I think we could kill it. Or, like, someone will show you one way to do something and you're like, okay, well, this could be helpful. And, that's the learning aspect for me. Like,
definitely, the learning aspect. But I just mean in
like,
terms
I
of
did
reps,
I did the dingo seminar with Ryu Kaiyu Dog Dingo.
Yes, sure.
And I was still in a sling at the time, so I didn't do any of the physical side of it. But just to even sit there and pick his brain was like, that was a lot of insight you probably wouldn't get wrestling on a show, if that makes sense. But in saying you're not wrong in your sense either, because being in front of people comes with a whole different set of dynamics. That's a whole bunch of different reps you need to get in, if that makes sense, like how to work crowds. You can't get that at training, stuff like that.
Like I did a seminar with Craven, not to name drop because it's It's the only fucking, that's probably the height of my career was I got to do a seminar with him. But like the amount that you learn in that seminar compared to like a regular show is obviously paramount. Like, but in terms of getting the reps in between, I feel like for me, I can stuff something up in training 100 times. But if I'm out there in the ring in front of the crowd, and obviously fucking I haven't wrestled in almost 4 years, but I could go out there in front of the crowd and bang, I'd hit it on the first fucking try. Like it was just this weird, maybe it's a psychological thing, but yeah, I feel like...
Yeah.
Oh, it's adrenaline. I've done it. I remember wrestling a Yo Loco show and I thought I was a baby face, which was new. And I was like, you know what? It can't be that hard to do one of them flips over the rope, which I later learned after the fact they call it a tope or whatever.
Hero or Giro, fucking.
It's a flip over the rope to the outside. That's what we're going to call it.
It's a fucking double whopper with
cheese. It's a Frankensteiner.
That's what
Jim. It's not a Hurricane Runner. It's a Frankensteiner.
Fucking, we'll give it the Jim Cornette special. It's a double whopper with cheese.
Yeah, it's a double whopper. Oh, I love that bloke. Tortures a Cult of Cornette member, certificate and all. We've got that. But yeah, I did one of them and thought that can't be that hard. Like, I realised later why you shouldn't do them at 100 kilos because they also bloody hurt. And what was the other one? I did something else. Then I remember to a clothesline from Gore and he just hit me really well. So I'm like, I'm going to take one of them inside-out bumps. Never trained it, never took it in my life. I thought it was just one of them moments and I went like, okay, this is happening.
Oh God!
And it probably helped. It was a Halloween show. It probably helped. I was in short shorts, a crop top that said Blue World Order on it. But
yes,
that was probably all the adrenaline I needed. You can find that photo. It's one of the greatest things I think I've ever done. We had Tats dressed up as a Blue World Order. Trauma pulled off the blue meanie. Yes, Trauma pulled out the meanie dance. Yes. He did it superbly. Did a superb job.
Oh, fuck yes. But following on from that, like going into the actual match torture, because you were using the blockbuster as a finish for a point there, weren't you?
It was sort of that thing I went through when nothing else worked. But yes, for a point there it was.
Are you at all hesitant to bring that back out, or have you been doing that at training?
It's been done.
Okay, yep.
It's been done. It was more for me a psychological thing. I just needed to know it was still there. I just needed to know I could still do it. And for me, a superplex is the same bump. I just need to know I can do it. Will it be pulled out as often? I couldn't tell you. But if it's needed, it'll be happening.
It's one of those things, like, not to sound like a mark, but when Seth Rollins, obviously everyone, is a WWE guy, when he did his knee, it was just on that sunset flip, which he'd done literally thousands of fucking times by that point.
Yep.
And it was that thing of, can he do it? Won't he do it? And then when he finally did it, even he was like, oh, like I can do that. And now he's done it so many times since then. But yeah, I get that. No, I can understand that. But
yeah, it's one of them things. It's there. But we'll see. I'm hoping I don't have to resort to it. Let's put it that way. I'm hoping I can just punch enough people in the face that I don't have to resort to ever go to the top rope again. Let's put it that way.
Well, even like I think probably a closer example, when Randy Orton did his shoulder, I say shoulder because obviously it was a different type of injury, but same area, he was doing that big fucking leaping Ricky Steamboat style freaking cross body off the top. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, can't do that anymore. And then randomly, like in like fucking a couple of years ago, like very recently, it was within like 2021 or 2022, he just busted it out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck? And even he was like, hoofed. Ooh, I was scared for a moment there.
Oh, yeah, it still runs through your head. Like,
and this is like, what, almost 20 years after the fact. And he's like, fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that, but hey, we pulled it up.
Oh, it's still there. Like, I remember Akel was actually laughing at me because it was quite a hesitant first go. We had crash mounts out and all sorts. And he's like, I've never seen you this scared to do anything. Like, I remember we had a street fight with the Dead Nation crew, and I just sort of looked at the stage and went, has anyone jumped off that? And they went, no. I said, well, I'm it. Like, it's not really, I think for me it was my first test of, hey, there was a body telling me you're not indestructible, dog. Like, take a breather. So it's still there, but obviously I've trained it enough that if I needed it or I've called it, I'm not worried about it. I know I can get it done.
Fair enough. What about the actual match itself with Scott Magnum coming up? for Integrity Sports Entertainment. What can you tell us about that torture? Like, you know, you don't have
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Scott Magnum's a guy there he's been getting close. Don't get me wrong, kid's got a lot of heart. But as my record's shown, you're going to need a lot more than heart to fucking get through me. And to be honest, I've been watching Integrity from the sidelines. I'm not happy with things I've seen. I'm not happy with people's actions that I've seen. And I'm not going to tell anyone what the damn hell I'm thinking of doing, but I'm going to rectify a couple of problems that I see fit over in that joint.
Fair enough.
Yeah. They can call it whatever they want. They can call it integrity. They can call it respect. They can call it whatever they want. I'm going to come in here and do a bit of house cleaning.
Excellent. Possibly tease a little bit of what you alluded to before with the torture and drama cleaning up, eh?
Hey.
I don't know, mate. He's a big crony now. He's got the big boy pants on. So we'll see.
Alrighty, so going into my next question for you.
Yep.
What is your favourite match of all time, both that you've had personally and that you've seen, whether that be on TV, live?
Oh, hard to go past the Legends of Wrestling versus the Legends of Football. God, how can we go past that classic? That was an absolute technical masterpiece
without a Mongo McMichael reference.
Yeah, Mongo versus Joe Gomez. That was unbelievable. Like, if any aspiring wrestler that wants to know how to be a absolute technician in the ring needs to go and watch hours of Mongo.
But again, though, not ironically, the Mongo matches are actually entertaining as fuck. It's proof that you don't have
not for the right reason. I say this 100 times to a lot of people. There's only one thing better than great wrestling. It's fucking terrible wrestling, and Mongo fucking had it in spades.
I love the bloke. John Crossfire, I'm sure you'll...
I mean, shout out to Mongo. He's a legend. I would take a bullet for the man, but by God, shit. Some of them WCW Worldwide tapings, holy shit.
No, in all seriousness, though, Mongo is in a pretty bad way at the moment, so we do send him our best wishes and whatnot, but...
100%. I bagged the bloke out, but I'm honestly a fan of Mongo. I've enjoyed watching Mongo over the years, so I wish him nothing but the best. I really do. But on a serious note, best match I've probably ever seen. Story-wise, there was a really good one recent. Story-wise, it's hard to go past Hogan and Rocket's bloody Mania. That was great. I really enjoyed the Midnight's work, the Midnight Express. I enjoyed watching them. Yes. Anything with them in there I could enjoy watching.
Like, you talk about Jim Cornette, go back and watch the old stuff where the Midnights were feuding with the Rockers. Like, that shit still holds up. I don't care. Like, that is
I will still sit there and watch them thoroughly entertained. Like, I've said it 101 times. You're a young, even the Rockers, but if you're a young babyface tag team, look no further than the Rockers. Just watch them, watch what they did. That's how you work as a tag team babyface. You don't need nothing more. They did just drop kicks and it was just fucking perfect in my eyes. You want to be a babyface tag team, watch them. There it is. That's the fucking blueprint. You want to be a heel tag team, go and watch Midnight Express. There's the fucking blueprint.
100%.
Best match I've ever been a part of is probably, well, don't get me wrong, I had a singles with TNT that I enjoyed because I ticked that off the bucket list. My match I probably had the best feedback on was the one I had with Harvey Falco at Kingdom. Would probably be that, and I had a really full-on match with EC Brownie. It probably wasn't my best. Like, probably wasn't the best we both could put on. We both look back at it now and going, geez, we could do better than that. But I'd have to say, probably be Falco. It would probably be Falco, I'd have to say.
Hell yeah.
My next question for you as well is, who is your ultimate dream opponent and what would your dream stipulation be?
I've got to sort it. It would be Mongo. I have to wrestle Mongo. Like, in any world, I'd have to go Mongo, and it would be in a puntathon. So the stipulation would be whoever got the 3 count would have to be tied to the post while the other one got the referee to hold the NFL ball in the field goal position as they got the ball directly hit at them. That would be my dream stipulation. That'd be it.
Are we talking to the face or are we talking gold dust shattered dreams?
No, mate, there's nothing. There's nothing you can do. No gimmick here. This is a complete shoot. You got your arms tied behind the post. Crap, there's nothing you can do. You're in the corner. You're stuck. Referee sitting there right in front of you. The ball all teed up. And you just live where it hits, brother. It hits you in the nuts, you're done. Hits you in the nose, you're done. You just live with it.
See, that's where I'd aim for the face and fucking still probably botch it and hit him in the balls.
Oh, but missed it. But see, if you wrestled Mongo and it missed it, it'd be so good. It'd be so good if he missed because it'd make so much sense. It'd just be amazing. Or if there's a stipulation I'd really like to do in Australia that no one's really done that I'd love to be a part of is a blindfold match.
Oh my god, I was about to say, I was like, I think he's going to say blindfold match because we had this conversation.
I love a blindfold match. If there's any, I'm telling you, I will do one before I retire. I need a blindfold match in my life.
Look, I don't know when or if I'm ever going to get cleared at this point, but hey, a blindfold match, you don't have to take bumps. Like, when these stitches come out, I'm a legally blind person as it is. People don't realise I was a legally blind professional wrestler. So, unironically, if someone wants to book me and Torture in a fucking blindfold match...
There you go, done. Easy money.
I'll put you over, brother. It's all good. One bump, we're done.
Oh, one? Hang on a minute here. So we're going into overtime after one. We're in overtime.
No, dude, I really do enjoy that aspect. It's one of those things where, like, comedy gimmicks, like, I was not to derail it too much because this is Torch's story, but I've just finished listening to the audiobook of Hornswoggle's book. And he was talking about how, so it's on Spotify. If you're a premium member, you can listen to it for free. It goes about like 6 or 7 hours. But like, he talked about like how the balance of, obviously as a midget, he's expected to do comedy. And then like he kind of went into the art, like as a midget doing comedy versus actual wrestling. And then when it's right to do actual wrestling versus comedy, he actually went into the WLC with him and Torito. And like he got in so much trouble because it wasn't comedic. And then they talked about like the comedy spots. It's a really good fucking listening. It's really awesome. And I was like, shit like that needs to be utilized. Like,
it's needed. It's like a movie at the end of the day. You've always got, like it's wrestling these days. It's ice cream. It's legit. You just need to satisfy everyone. You don't see an ice cream shop open up and go, sorry, we only got chocolate here. They've got 101 different flavors in any ice cream parlor you go to. Wrestling's no different. And there's nothing better than you're sitting at a club, you got a couple of drinks in you, then some bloke comes. A prime example, I'm talking about, we do it constantly. You got a couple of drinks in you and anything else, there's nothing better than seeing a 130-kilo bloke miss an elbow in a corner, then I hit the 130-kilo bloke, I fall on my back, and this 130-kilo man proceeds to fall face first into my ball.
Yes, that is a
and
I have never seen that spot miss. Never.
It doesn't matter. It's one of them things. Like, we probably fell into it a bit more because at the time we were wrestling guys that weren't really tag teams. They were kind of green and we're like, what can we give? Like, we just started thinking to ourselves on the way back from places. What can we start giving people where they've just been thrown together? What's something we can do that's safe for us, safe for them, and it's just simple. And Trauma goes, why don't you just hit me in the nuts? And we sort of looked at each other and went, well, why don't we just pull this out? We watched this the other month on some backyard thing we were watching, bloody out at his place, bloody drinking or whatever. We're like, bloody, why don't we just do that? That's simple. And it doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter anything. Some bloke getting hit in the nuts is funny.
It just makes me think.
And especially if it's
football.
100%, especially with some bigger, like you got two bigger dudes, you got two smaller ones have been throwing them around, and what do? They make us look stupid. It's funny. You know what I mean? Like, you need that in places. You know, it's like laughing at the teacher. If you're not allowed to laugh at the teacher, it instantly becomes 5 times funnier when you find something funny.
Oh, yes.
But if you let them laugh, they'll sink in the serious moments that little bit more.
Definitely. I think That's a fucking.
That's good psychology.
I was like, when the moment he said it hasn't been used in Australia, I was like, oh, he's gonna bring the blindfold match up, Disney. Because I remember we had this. I say we had this conversation. I was only in the comment section, but we talked about this on True Story, and I was just like, yes.
Well, I probably would have been on one of Coyote streams as well. Shout out Coyote, love you.
Yeah, some of the
wrestle me, wrestle me, you bitch. Wrestle me, Coyote, you bitch. I'm calling you out.
Yeah, every time it comes up, I'm like, I still want to take the giant choke slam. I don't know how, but I'm gonna do it.
Oh, I love the bloke. He was one of them people that a lot of the True Story boys. Well, a lot of them True Story boys were good. I'd have Sarge, like Akel still brings me to this day, bloody Coyote, Piers, all them boys when I was, when their injury first happened and I was moving out of like my house at the time and stuff. Like a lot of them boys were just like, like I remember being at that hospital for a week and they just, buddy, a random video call and it's like, well, do we discussing something for next week? And it's like, nah, we just called to see what you were doing and, just chat shit for an hour. But that hour might not have meant nothing to them, but it meant so much more to me when I'm just sitting in the hospital doing nothing, if that makes sense. So I can't commend them boys enough. Like, there was a lot of people around that time. Like, Coyote gave me a lot of perspective, which, to be fair, if there's, Dingo was the same. And if there's only two people that could probably give you a perspective of, hey, life's not that fucking bad, they're probably two guys. One's got Gillian Beret and one's got a leg missing. Now he's only got two. Like, you know what I mean? So when you look at it that way, probably no two better people.
Yeah, I remember when we had Coyote on here, cheap plug, we did 2 weeks worth of episodes with him, and like both obviously I've got the eye issues, my wife has fluid on her brain, and it was just like obviously it's all completely different like situations, but we're just like we basically said to Coyote like how the fuck do you
stay so positive?
And he was very open with us. He said he basically said, look, there is days where he's crying on the floor, but there's also this aspects where you just you got no choice. You need to kind of just pick yourself up and keep going because otherwise, it's only going to get worse if you don't, sort of thing. Like, it was very great.
Oh, I tell him all the time, I love him to death. He's going to piss himself when I say this. He's that positive, it starts to annoy me. Like, he's just so damn positive. Like, it's so good. Like, even my partner she thinks wrestling, me as a wrestler, gives her the ick. Let's put it that way. She loves the fact that I find it interesting. She couldn't find it any least interesting. She'd rather watch the grass grow. And even she'll sit there and go, I love Coyote. And I'm sitting there going, well, listen, like, buddy, get your head ready here. This is too much positivity for me. And like, he's just so, and it's a hat off to him and his mental toughness to be that positive all the time. But I just remember I'd be 10 bourbons deep going, Heidi, you keep pushing this positivity shit, I'm going to kill you. But he's just, like, hats off to him. He's just so positive. I love him for it. I wouldn't have him any other way. It still fathoms me just how he's so positive all the time, and hats off to him for it.
I think that leads into I'll ask a bonus question, right? Like in your case, Torture, like obviously you've gone through the ups and the downs, but you sound like you're coming out on the other side. So how have you tried to remain positive through all this stuff you're going on with your shoulder?
To be honest, I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of, like, don't be wrong, the first couple of months there, like, there was a lot, like, you lose income, then my income insurance had a bloody grey area which didn't allow me to pay it because of some dodgy employers. So to that employer I will not name, fuck you. And bloody, lose your house and everything else like that. Like, my partner was very supportive. I've now got my kids 50% of the time, so we have them a week on and a week off. I've just been very fortunate. I've had a lot of mates around, even mates outside of wrestling, that when I had to move, it was just like, oh, cool, when? Like, not a matter of, oh, can I, not having to ask, can I get a hand? It was just, yeah, sweet, we're coming. And no one really allowed me to stay home, if that makes sense. Like, Trauma, even when he had the shows, like, come, I need a hand, whether it be doing music or just doing whatever I could. It was just, no, get out of the house. Like, my partner would take the kids to the park, and instead of they're feeling sorry for myself, it was like, no, come for a walk, you need it, let's go. Like, didn't go sitting there going, no, still come to the seminar, don't give a shit if you're in a sling. Like, I said the other phone call with the True Story boys when I was in the hospital, like, just even AKL in the school and whatnot. Like I even had a really surprise one. I had the old captain Bronson King even end up in my inbox, sending his best, which was really cool. Like a guy I grew up watching as a kid, but he's sending it through. It was a little, like, might mean nothing on a grand scale, but to me it was like, oh shit, this is fucking awesome. And yeah, I've been very fortunate in that fact of having, like, they didn't let me sit still. I've never been a fan of sitting and doing nothing and pondering. So I had a great support system to realise when I started to sit there and ponder, going, okay, this is when we need to step in and keep him busy. So I've been very fortunate in that regard. And I've been, funnily enough, the last month, I've just enjoyed myself. I've been enjoying getting back to work. I've been enjoying going back to a gym. I've been enjoying going back to training. So it's not one of them things where I was turning into, I was chasing wrestling, if that makes sense. It wasn't I need wrestling, I need to do this, or no one will care if I don't do this. It was like I was contenting my own self, and it wasn't until probably I was content with, what, if I don't have wrestling, this is what it is, and I'm happy. That it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I want to do this again. So I've been I'd probably say my support system more than anything else has been the major factor to probably not let me get down on myself, if that makes sense.
It's probably one of the things that I love most about wrestling is just the community in general. There's just so many awesome people, and just all the people you get to meet along the way. And when shit like this happens, they're there for you. That's the best thing.
Oh, and that's it's one of the things I try and preach to a lot of guys and even young guys. If you listen to every story you hear from everyone, you're not going to like a lot of people in this industry. You're going to hate everybody, myself included. Like, if you just go in with an open mind, you treat everyone no different, and it comes back to the age-old philosophy of treat others as you treat yourself, you'd be very surprised at who you actually find are the good guys in this little wrestling world of ours. You'd be very, very surprised at who them guys are.
Yeah, well, how many of us have come into, and not even just Australia, just wrestling in general, like, I feel like there's no in between, unfortunately. They're either really shit or they're really great, which... Yeah. But, like, how many of us have come into a new company or whatever, and that one random person that, I don't know if they've deemed themselves a locker room leader or what, but they'll just pull you aside and be like, oh, hey, you're new here, stay away from this person and this person and this person because of A, B, C, and D. Yeah. And then, like, you find out years later that you're like, you're the cunt that started all of this.
I'm actually going to be the contrary. I haven't had any of it. I don't know whether that's, like, I know I'm not perfect. I'm rough around the edges. I'm a little bit of a bloody carry-on larrikin. I can admit it. But I've never, ever had going into a locker room and been, like, ever have any heat, if that makes sense. I've always been able to go into locker rooms and be like, hey, how's it going? Or, and just kind of get along with everyone. I haven't had that issue. Like, even when I've done just random favours, I mean, like, yeah, look, I'll come to you here because you're short or whatever. I've been welcome with open arms. I can't really say on that front with workers I've ever had that much of an issue.
See,
I know a lot of guys do, and I'm not saying a lot of guys are I'm not saying a lot of guys are talking out of their ass when they've had these issues or whatnot, like keeping track probably compared to some of these guys I haven't been around long enough. But I don't know, I find it, I don't know, I can't sit there and say, yeah, I can see it when I personally haven't. I've been fortunate enough where I've gotten along, well, I'd like to think anyway, touch wood, but I'd like to think I've gotten along with most people, so I don't have that. I've never had that animosity walking into a locker room, or I've had to go, oh, God, if this person's on a show, I'm going to fucking lose it. Like, I've never actually had to deal with any of that. So I don't know, compared to some people, I'm calling myself pretty lucky.
So I get that, because I 100% agree with you, because I've never personally experienced the point where it's like, oh, fuck this guy, fuck that guy. Like, yeah, there's people every now and then that you don't get along with, but it's like, look, you come in, you shake hands, you work, you don't have to see each other when you leave, so fuck it, it is what it is. But, like, there's the amount of people that'll be like, oh, this person's done this and this person's did that, and it's like, dude, my thing is, I just never say, like, if I like, maybe this is me just sounding like an egotistical mark for myself, but I'm like, if I've ever said anything about someone, whether it be at a show or online, it's nothing that I haven't already said to their face.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's probably been my saving grace, where it's been like, you know, like obviously they go, oh, you know, buddy, I'll make a joke or something. I'll be like, oh, did Torture really say that? And they'll go, yeah, but it's Torture. Like doesn't mean nothing. He's just being a student. He's just being an imbecile. Let it go. You know, like, buddy, or they'll come over and have a laugh and go, come on, we need a joke about this. Pull something. And I'll pull something out 5 minutes later. It's like, yeah, I'm sure, like, don't get me wrong, there's some people you don't like. I know there's one that I don't. But in saying that, it's one of them things. I don't have to deal with it outside of wrestling. I'm not letting it doesn't have to take up your life to hate one person, which, let's be fair, I haven't got TNT coming to my house right now at gunpoint going, you need to be a consumer this Saturday. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. If you literally have a problem with someone on that show, you have a problem with the promoter, it's, I'm good. I ain't rocking up. I've got something on. Thank you. Bye. So that's why I sometimes struggle to understand going, well, if you don't like someone or you don't like the way some things are done, why are you going? So it's, yeah, I struggle to get it, but I can see why some people would have a drama.
So the way I look at it is, unless, like, you know, if, say, you know, someone's been called out and they've done something like illegal or terrible or whatever, and they're still booked, then I'm going to look at that show and go, yeah, no, I'm not going to come. But if it's just a matter of personalities clash, which happens literally everywhere in life, regardless of where you are, it's just like, okay, cool. I'll wrestle them if I have to, but if not, I'll say hello and then I'll go to my own little corner. Like, I don't have to see them in 3 hours' time once the ring's back on the truck. Like, it's just...
yeah, but I'm also gonna play devil's advocate to that, because I'm a firm believer on second chances. Like, I've got mates of mine that, I'm not gonna lie, you grow up in Mount Druitt. Not every single one of your mates is squeaky clean. Just because someone makes a mistake, or whether that be legal, whether that be, you know, in a wrestling locker room, doesn't always make them a bad person.
Oh, definitely within reason, yeah.
We're human beings. We're allowed to have a misslap in judgment. Whether that's, you know, I've sent a message without thinking, then went, oh, holy crap, I shouldn't have sent that. Or, you know, like, I'm not going to mention it, but I've nearly made some pretty big mistakes, as I mentioned on a True Story podcast, and, you know, people could still hold that against me, and they've chosen not to. I was a prick of a kid. I'm sure I did things when I was a teenager that people could hate me for the rest of my life for. And if all these people didn't give me a second chance, I'm probably not the person I am today. So I look at it as, you know, you go and get a drink driving charge. Okay, you made a mistake. All right. I'm not going to exile you from wrestling because
so something like that, definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know, I'm going to go, you touch kids, I mean, that's a fucking issue.
Yeah, that's
like, we always got unwritten rules that are just like unwritten rules for adults. But when it comes to you can tell when someone's made a genuine mistake. If it's out of character, is probably the best way to put it. If it's an out of character mistake, 9 times out of 10, there's a reason. How about we find the reason and try and help fix that reason or problem before we... And I think that's one thing I do hate, like just the exorcism pretty much of the blacklisting and, oh, no, this person said something back in 2012 that doesn't agree with 2024 ideology.
10 different companies.
Yeah, like, oh, this person on Twitter said something in 2012 that's not now socially acceptable in 2024. Like, yeah, okay, the human race goes through evolution, like that does happen. You know, like that's normal. And, you know, people grow. People, you know, some people that probably wrote something in 2012 are probably 10, maybe 13 years old, where they thought the world was their little friend oyster. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no.
I don't know. I just don't. I look at it as, you know, if it's out of character, it's probably a mistake. You know, I think it's just first time, shame on you, twice shame on me. It's probably the best way to put it. I'm willing to give you one. You do it a second time, or mate, you're on your own. You stuff that up.
This is why I like with stuff like that, people have kind of like for example, like there's been issues where people I know like have been drunk on shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's a strike. You're unbooked for X amount of shows. Come back. Whereas, like, you know, if they've done something really bad, like, you know, kind of what Torture alluded to, where, like, the speaking out movement, the amount of people that were outed in that were unfortunately found guilty, and there's a couple here and there, like, luckily Australia's not as bad, but overseas, some of them that have kind of snuck their way back into the business is kind of like, well, that's a bit gross. Definitely wouldn't work a show with that person. But no, I definitely agree with what you're saying for the most part.
Yeah, but you've got to allow room for people to grow too. Like, you know, like if, let's say he, like, I wasn't fully over the speaking out movement, so I could be speaking out of tone. But if you've got an 18-year-old kid, for lack of a better analogy, you've got an 18-year-old kid, young, dumb, and full of cum, turned around and bloody said something that's inappropriate. I kind of look at it as, like, if it was me in a social standpoint, almost be me pulling him aside and going, man, listen, what the fuck are you doing? Go and apologise to this person.
Yeah, definitely a case by case.
You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely a case by case. But in saying that, some of the things I did hear from it were not acceptable whatsoever. Like, in any which way, shape, or form. Some of the things out of the States were not acceptable whatsoever.
I love how we just went on this massive rant just on about whether or not we were like people. No, I like that because it's like this is what the show's all about: ranting, reviewing, and marking out. Like, and that's what I don't. I think that kind of proves the point in a way, though, like torture, because it's like imagine hating someone or disliking someone to the point of I'm not working a show or I'm not wrestling. It's like, why have they done X, Y, Z? No, then fucking shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. If you go to McDonald's, I had lots of people at McDonald's when I was a young kid that I worked with that I thought, you're an absolute wanker. But it was like, hey, man, fries in 2 minutes. Because that was my fucking job. Like,
yeah, well, I find that I always put it back to when I was young, we went to the rugby sevens tournament, which is a rugby union. They do 7-a-side. And me and my mates were sitting there, bloody, the Kiwis would come on, we'd get up, we'd sing the national anthem, we're giving it to the bloody Fijians and the Samoans and the Tongans, and the most vile shit you could possibly think of going back and forth. Then the full-time siren goes and you'll be laughing, going, oh, you got the better of us there, and they'd be laughing, going, yeah, like, he's almost got us, and, you know, we were like, oh, look, we're going to the bar, what are you drinking? Like, you know, like, it's almost, life is so short sometimes, it's too much energy. If you took that energy that you're going to put into hating to people and just transfer it to something as positive as that, the world would be a better place, to be perfectly honest. Well, you don't need to be there. You don't need to carry on with the bullshit. Like, you don't like me when I'm at a show setting up on a rings that day. Great. Guess what? I'm going to go put up scaffold at 5 o'clock Monday morning, whether you like me or not. So I'm not putting my energy into this shit.
Yeah, 100%. Would you like to ask your last question, Nova, so we can go into more of the upcoming events for torture?
Yeah. Alrighty, so we always try to tailor our last question respectively to the individual that we have on.
Oh, God. Yes, I love bourbon.
Non-wrestling question. Kind of like, we usually do it almost like a fun fact, but we've kind of done
shit, race 4, Randwick, number 7.
That kind of answers my question. That was weird. Because it was like piggybacking off True Story Thursdays with this one. What is the best sports bet tip that you can offer us?
Oh, Jesus. All right. You just missed it because there was a feature bet going around, which you'd have to look on Sportsbet to see if it's still available, where you could get a bonus bet. So if you put on, say, Kansas City to win the Super Bowl, every game Kansas City wins in the regular season, you got that amount back in a bonus bet.
Oh, shit. That would
See, I don't even use sports.
Yeah, so what,
like, fuck.
So what me and Mike can... Well, and you got a max limit of $50. So what me and Mike conniving fucking mate, it is 5 of us threw $10 in, pick the favourite, and went, yep, we'll throw $10 each on that in a group thing. So then we got a $50. We're getting $50 bonus bets every week, and we're trying to pick the biggest roughie we can on the weekend. Going, yep, and we're throwing everything down: the dogs, the horses. The grand final we did absolutely dog shit in because we all picked Melbourne. But he will go and that's probably my best tip. See if that's on. Get on that and then use the bonus, like pick the favourite because they're guaranteed to at least win 10. So 10 by 5 is $500 worth of bonus bets. So then you have $500 to try and turn your life around. That would be my bonus. That would be the best sports bet tip I can give. If it's still available, you would have to check terms and conditions on that one.
And of course, as we always say, gamble responsibly. But
yeah, look, I'm a big I'm a big advocate of gamble responsibly, but I'm also a big advocate of do as I say, not as I do. So don't ask me how I gamble. But if anyone's asking gamble responsibly, just don't look at my phone.
The amount of late night messages that I get from Swooper, and he's like, "I just cleaned up," and I'm like, "Brother, give me a loan." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "This is all going to go towards this loan, and then the rest is going on my grog." And I'm like, "Bruh."
Oh, mate, me and Swoop, we'd be at bloody Kingdom shows and they'd be going through the lineups and everyone would be going through their matches and we're sitting there and we'd be like, "Oi, what do you got on race 7 in Macquarie?" "Oh, I've got this, this and this." "All right, sweet, I got a tip for this one for the dogs tonight." "All right, sweet, no worries." And then we spend an hour at least exchanging tips before we even worried about wrestling.
Oh, that is
it was so much fun. I love you, Swoop, you know what I mean?
See, we'd be screwed if we actually bet on our teams because they're doing so shit at the moment.
Who is it?
See, Torture's going to make fun of me for this because I'm a Parramatta Eel supporter.
Oh, you poor bloke. You haven't seen your team win in colour TV either.
Brother, I was born in 94. I've seen 3 grand finals, actually. The last
Sorry, mate, it's like a trip. It's like overtime you're not paid for. I look at it this way. Like, you can go to the grand final all you want. If you don't win, you just did unpaid overtime at work. You could have went to Bali 4 weeks early.
At least with the wooden spoon, we got something to fucking carry around.
Well, the Tigers are cleaning them up. They're hoarding them at the moment.
I lost me freaking coach. I'm Broncos. So.
Oh, man, I'm a Cowboy supporter. I'm worried about next year.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm worried. We've lost a lot and we signed Carl Lawton. Yeah, you can't wait.
Oh, man.
But as we start to wind down here, Torture, where can we find you on the social media? Do you have any merch? And what are your upcoming events? Obviously, we've got the November 15th that we're talking about, but...
Yep, so there will be something else added to that November. So I'm on that tour. That complete tour you'll find Torture on. He will be at the entrance and he will be at St Mary's.
See, I'm pissed off because if I had the money for travel, I'd go to the St Mary's one because I got friends that live there.
Oh, mate, it's gonna be some fun. I have not probably wrestled in Western Sydney in such a long time. I can't wait to wrestle at home. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. You know, I'm a Mount Druitt guy. St Mary's is as close as you're probably going to get. Like, I'm stoked. I can't wait to head back there. There will be something else. I'm not going to announce that as it's not my responsibility. You'll find me at Mitchell Burns on Facebook and Torture and Trauma Services on Facebook. And what the hell's my Instagram? Mitchell Burns dot tats. What the hell is it? Hang on a minute, we're having technical difficulties. Mitchell Burns dot torture off. There we go. Oh Jesus, that sounds great. But yes, that's it.
I was trying to open the fucking, because obviously we're talking to you via Instagram Messenger right now, and I was trying to open it and it wouldn't let me fucking load it up without trying to end the call. So I'm like, oh God, I can't even help Jesus.
Right, when it comes to technology, I'm as useful as a Screendoor on a submarine. I've got absolutely nothing. I am the absolute shit. See, now that's almost like another fucking episode title there. Useful as a Screendoor. 100%.
Oh, man.
Torture is write it down. Torture is the shit.
I reckon we've probably got 20 titles by now. It's mighty good.
But have you got any merch or anything like that we can
no, I'm just sold out. So all my merch is self-produced and I've just sold out before I was going to release another shirt, then obviously, the funding for that sort of can't happen with a broken collarbone. Yeah. So that kind of all went out the window. And plus, no one likes me. I'm a bad guy. Fuckies aren't wearing my shit. Fuck you, cat. My shit's my shit.
I mean, look, that's fair, because I was like, fuck, we could have marketed some, Torture comeback tour T-shirts, but... Yeah. And that makes sense, bad.
No, so they don't want it. You either come see it or screw you.
It's the old adage.
You can either come see me or
tickets,
not about.
Faces sell merch.
100%. I sell tickets, they can sell their merch. After they're laying on their back looking at the ceiling.
After he hits that blockbuster. But no, I wish you the best of luck. And as I said, I wish I could get to the St. Mary's show because, one, I'm a massive mark for Trevor Lee, but the lineup they've got for both of these nights is looking amazing. I'd love to get Nathan on here to actually talk about integrity in depth at some point because you guys have been doing some really cool shit from day one.
He's been doing I've been really fascinated with the fact he's got a lot of, he almost broke that fourth wall of what we were saying earlier of, like that stigma of these guys won't work with these guys and these guys won't work with these guys. And it's kind of like, well, this is a big game of Chinese whispers. And all the boys kind of just showed you by working together, and I'll give props to Trauma for that, the leadership he showed in getting all these guys behind and all working towards the same goal. But it also, like, hats off to the boys of going, yeah, you know what, all this crap is all here is all talk. We're all just as hungry to make Australian wrestling better as everyone else.
Put it this way,
and Dave shows the show on that.
Put it this way, the Crossfire compound resides just outside of Wagga Wagga. So I don't know. I don't know. Like,
I've got some nights out there.
I know, like a handful of people, that deal with integrity. But for the most part, I'm just looking at this as an outsider. And yet somehow I still hear these same fucking Chinese whispers of, oh, this person isn't going to be on the show because this person's on the show. And then it gets to the show and there's all of these people on the show. And, oh, this person's actually wrestling this person. So I can just imagine Trauma sitting behind the scene fucking like a big kingpin just cheering along like, yeah, worked you motherfuckers like a fiddle.
No, he just laughs. Like, I've seen plenty of them where he's just, like, he's sitting there going, bloody, like, I've even remember saying to him on the first one, like, you know what everyone's saying? And he's just sitting there going, yeah, I know what they're saying, but just watch. Yes, just watch. But he was the one that used my own saying back at me and sort of went, listen, you don't have a problem with anyone, do you? He goes, no. He goes, do you really think half these people have a problem with each other? Let's find out. And everyone really got behind the Legacy Awards, which I hope that's something Integrity stays with. That
was really cool actually. I popped so hard when I saw that. From
what I've been told, it's planning to be a yearly thing, and it's not, how do I explain? It's not company based. It's going to be based off Australian wrestling in general. Yep. And they're not worried about who's worked where and who's done what. It's who's paved the way for the Tortures and the Traumas and all these guys and all of us to be able to do what we do. Who are the guys that have given up the weekends and stuff like that to make that shit a reality? And something I know Nathan personally is very hell-bent and heart-sent on recognising the guys that allows us to do what we do. It's not fair that only us in the know get to know what these guys have done. Like the fans and the people that pay the money deserve to learn and hear about all these guys that have made what we do possible. So I think it's a really, really cool thing.
Without going on too much of a rant, because I don't want to take up too much of your time here, but it's stuff that you have talked about on True Story of Australian wrestling needs a Hall of Fame, but there's so many little cliques and things like that you're like, well, it's always just going to be there, guys. I think, honestly, seeing the group of people that Nathan, has brought in so far, and obviously Dingo Cannon and Thunder being the first two recipients are very well deserved, but I feel like, granted, I'm just looking at this from the outside looking in, but even just as a wrestling fan looking at it on the surface, this looks like this could be the closest we're going to get to some promotions in various states do have their own Hall of Fames or whatever, and look, more power to them, but I feel like this is going to be the closest to a Aussie Wrestling Hall of Fame that we may get anytime soon, and I'm 100% here for it.
Yeah, well, I know that that's something, obviously we're launching for the moon here, but I'm sure, you got to walk before you can run. So I'm sure this legacy thing could probably potentially turn into something like that at one stage. But I'm also liking when, because as we've heard on True Stories, I'm a big advocate for it. You got your Ken Dunlops, your Mark Mercedes, your TNTs, and you've got guys that have been around even before then that I would learn and be like, oh, so what did this person do? And Nathan's been around Australian wrestling since 1999. He's been around the block for, not in a wrestling capacity, but been around for quite a long time and, kind of doesn't have the same sort of issue. There's not really anyone in the wrestling world he has an issue with. So he's very on that aspect of he would, just as an example, how cool would it be to be able to maybe one day You got promotions from all over Sydney, all over New South Wales to be able to sit there one day and almost like the Dally M's, you got your one table for one promotion, one table for another, and then it's an Integrity Presents. It's not even no longer even an integrity thing. It's bigger than integrity. This is the Australian Hall of Fame, and you recognise everyone, all personal differences aside, and you're able just to, give the people their flowers that they deserve, and let the fans know, listen, you love cheering or hating the Torches, but you wouldn't have done that if, this person didn't go and do this for X amount of time, or you like wrestling in rural areas. You wouldn't have got that if, I don't know the logistics of it, but someone like IWA who goes all the way down there, maybe they don't get that if Mercedes didn't take it there. And, little things like that, like internationals coming to Australia, that was TNT's thing for an awfully long time. Do we get the internationals we do now? Do we get the international assault if AWS and TNT didn't start bringing all these guys in? And it's such a cool thing for a fan. You start to learn. And just to have, people rock up and you've got a whole room, everyone's got their differences aside, just to, give people their respect. It's a powerful thing when you sit down and start to think about it in what can be seen as such a political and bullshit world. To be able to pull off something like that, that would be unreal. That would be something I'd love to be a part of.
That would be pretty fucking amazing. But regardless, before we get too ahead of ourselves, I'm just looking forward to seeing who the next legacy recipients will be. Hopefully next year, if all goes to head. But I do appreciate your time, Torture. You've been rehabbing, and I've been watching you, and I've been cheering you on. But do you have anything final words you'd like to say for Scott Magnum, or any final plugs you'd like to hit before we get out of here?
Yeah, Scott Magnum, thank you and fuck you. I'll see you the 15th. And we're going to befuddle this fucking to-the-moon spaceship. Bloody Trevor Lee don't know it yet, but he's coming to Western Sydney. He's coming to my house. We'll see if you get out of there alive.
Man, did Torture just call out Trevor Lee here live on the pod?
Oh, no. I'm coming back from Collarbone. I'm not that dumb. I'm saying someone else can do that for me. Someone else do that for me, and I'll just...
As a rule, he's going to experience
I'm just saying, someone else go and take care of it.
Especially at the Mount... sorry, the St. Mary's show. I'm sure there's going to be Penrith Panthers, their fans, still there fucking celebrating. They're still carrying on 3 days later. So.
Yeah, well, they cost me a multi, so I'll give them a lot for it.
Do you have anything else you want to ask Nova before we let Torture go? Otherwise, we're just going to rant for the next hour about shit, and then I'm going to feel bad for taking up Torture's time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate it, mate. I'm looking forward to your comeback and possibly getting you back on once we have more details about said comeback.
Yeah.
100%. Not a drama in the world.
All right. Peace, my brother.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See
ya. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that was Torture. And my question is, was he racking lines and fucking nines at the Pink Pony Club?
Maybe. He might have been. He might have been. This all is making sense now. I see.
As I said in the intro, like we say it every week, and it kind of starts to sound a bit disingenuous, but like we're genuinely just having so much fun with these episodes, and it's just
some fun. People,
I'm enjoying this. Like,
I'm loving it.
Like it's like, obviously Torture himself is coming back for an injury, and just today as we record this intro and outro, I kind of had a clean out of my wrestling bag, and I found some stuff that I never even got to fucking wear, and it's just been sitting in a bag for almost 4 years now, and it's kind of disheartening. But if I was to become a full-time podcaster, I would honestly, it's a pipe dream, and there's still a lot of work involved. But if they were all like this, and I know that realistically they wouldn't all be like this, but if at least 90% of them were like this, I'd be pretty fucking happy. I'd be pretty stoked. And no, just a great conversation, and I wish Torture the best of luck in his comeback. And again, I wish we could be at the St. Mary's one, but just with all the travelling and everything that we're doing currently, it's just not feasible, unfortunately. But yeah, Torture, all of Torture's links will be in the description below. the integrity links. And with that, I'll just jump straight into the show links. We have on November 15th and 16th, Integrity Sports Entertainment on Friday the 15th, they're at the entrance. Saturday the 16th, they're at the St. Mary's. Is it the St. Mary's RSL Club or the St. Mary's Bowling Club or St. Mary's something club? But regardless, 15th, 16th, and there's even, the reason it's called the To the Moon Tour is because, as we talked about in this conversation, Trevor Lee, formerly Cameron Grimes in WWE, is doing a seminar. This is open publicly to any and every professional wrestler in Australia. All you got to do is, and it's at the same link as the show tickets, it's there. You can buy a ticket, you can book your spot to learn from the man himself, Trevor Lee.
Yes.
Honestly, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? Like, he's absolutely talented guy. Absolutely talented.
And with that being said, I think as always, if you're listening to this on the day that it drops, it's going to drop obviously, I think Sunday 27th. Yep. We'll actually be in Sydney after the Emma Butler Memorial. We'll be in Canberra. Had Sydney on the brain because I was just talking about Sydney. We'll be in Canberra because would have been at Carroll the night before for the Emma Butler Memorial show. But obviously, as always with this episode, obviously if you're listening to it when it comes out, it's too late. But future episodes, you get 2-day early access at the Patreon for as little, Nova Lee,
as $5 dues.
Our Rogue tier gets you early access. $10 the essential early access plus the opportunity to ask us a question in the intro. The most current episode, $15 the real main event. Gives you the chance to actually pick a topic for a full episode. And of course, our $20 tier, our top tier is called
Supernova, baby.
It is called Supernova in honor of my lovely wife, the sensational Miss Nova Lee. And with that, gives you video access to, if we do a watch along, whether it's one that you've requested for the $15 tier, or if it's just one we do for the sake of it, like a Royal Rumble or a random comedy match that someone suggests otherwise, and we go, hey, that's a good idea. But for whatever reason, any watch alongs that you do, you'll get Patreon exclusive footage of us reacting. I do have a webcam which has a little stand. I do want to get an actual tripod for promos in general, so that could be a good little thing.
I'm going to get a ring light too.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I've got one on my Amazon wishlist. And speaking of Amazon wishlist, it is in the links. Nova Lee, which one is it? This one. Nova Lee's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza cutter. If you like pina coladas, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pizza cutter is not on my wish list anymore, and it's not because anyone bought it. It's, you can get it in Australia. They do ship to Australia, but you have to be logged in to the American version. So, anyway, but yeah, if you do that, you'll get footage. You'll get footage at the $20 tier of our reactions and a shout out for that whole month. We've only got one subscriber so far. They've subscribed to our $10 tier. I did send them a message saying thank you. Didn't get a response, but hey, thank you. If you listen to this, thank you. But yeah, all the links are there to Torture, and I'll go back in now to, obviously, as I said, Integrity is going to be there 15th, 16th. I went on the rant because of the Trevor Lee thing and lost track of the flow that I was doing. Extreme Capital Wrestling, and in the ACT, November 23rd, we will be doing a preview to that episode doing a preview episode to that event very soon as well. I really hope no one hijacks this episode again, but they probably will. These wrestlers, they can't get out of the damn spotlight.
They just can't help themselves. They love the sound of their own voice. We have this platform which we invite them onto, and then they still hijack episodes that they're technically not meant to be on to begin with. But it is what it is. And then, of course, November 30th, the All-for-One Rumble. Geelong. The winner of that will receive a championship opportunity next time they are back in Geelong. And it was just announced. WrestleFest 2, a 2-night extravaganza. February 28th, March 1st. So I'm assuming on one of those 2 nights, the winner of this Rumble will get a shot on one of those 2 dates. And, of course, the main event. We were talking about Trevor Lee coming over for the Torture show and learning from him. Bobby Fish versus Richie fucking Taylor. Holy shit, I cannot wait to see footage of that. And of course, Bobby Fish has just been announced the night before on 29th for Adrenaline Pro Wrestling as well.
I don't know if they're going to be doing a public seminar. They haven't said anything yet, but all the wrestlers that will get to learn from that man will be just amazing. The amazing things they're going to learn from that man was the point that I was trying to make. I lost trail of my thought while in the middle of said thought. But hey, that's ADHD brain for you. But if you'd like to recap the song and match of the week, and then I'll go through our links, and then we'll get out of here because I don't want to make these episodes too long.
Alrighty. So, your song of the week for episode 132 again was Pink Pony Club by Triple Roan, and your match of the week was Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville, WrestleMania 38.
I love that every time you said his name, you've gone into like that southern accent.
Because it's Johnny fucking Knoxville!
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and welcome to Jackass. But yes, all of the links, follow Torture, follow Integrity, do all of that stuff. If you have the money, buy a ticket to that Trevor Lee seminar, because if you have the means to make that show, why wouldn't you? Why? Anyway, follow the link trees. Both mine and Nova have all of the podcast socials, as well as the aforementioned Patreon. And as well as if you follow me, you can get the Crossfire page, the Crossfire graphics page, the Amazon wishlist, which unfortunately doesn't have the pizza thing there anymore. Fiverr is there if you want to do that more than hit me up, but I'd prefer if you just hit me up directly at Crossfire Graphics. It's a lot easier. But if you're more comfortable going through a third-party site, the Fiverr is there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like everything's there. The GoFundMe, again, not going to beg, but it's there. If you got $1, I'll take $1. They'll probably only get like 70 cents after fees, but it's there. And as we record this, we're recording this intro and outro on 20th of October. I'll be 30 by the time this episode drops.
Old boy.
We're going to be going to a special event, actually, in a couple of days, and by the time this drops, we will have been there. But
excited.
We've been invited to an event at the eye hospital, and I'm very, very humbled and fortunate, and I am going to be doing a vlog, which was what I was trying to segue in.
Sorry, I have ADHD.
And hopefully, by the time this episode's out, the vlog should have already dropped a few days before that, and planning on doing a vlog for the Emma Butler Memorial Show as well, which should be in the process of being dropped, I think, the day after this episode drops, which was the plug that I was trying to make. Thank you, Nova.
Well, I am sorry. I am just excited.
Great minds think alike.
I'm excited, so I'm just jumping ahead. Okay?
No, I was just going to say great minds think alike. But no, thank you, Torture.
So fun. It was so fun.
Oh, man, that intro you gave him.
That was actually probably my favourite intro I've ever done. That was actually so fun.
Yes, because this, we may work on PG-ish shows and whatnot, but this podcast is marked E for explicit for a reason.
We're ADHD. We're going to fucking swear, man. Like...
I just love that afterwards you're like, wait, I can swear in the intros?
You're like, oh! I got to swear!
But I still want to know, was he doing that at the Pink Pony Club? And I just love that you're just going through your Rolodex of ADHD and girly tunes and TikTok tunes.
It's just showing, as mentioned in a future episode, I'm polyamorous.
Yes.
Polyamorous.
As we record this today, we actually did just talk to Freya Fury, which will be in a week or two's time upon this dropping cheap plug.
And she mentioned about being polyamorous. Like, yes, queen, same girl.
Thank you very much to Torture for coming on. Thank you very much to you guys for listening to this episode. I want to keep it under an hour and a half. So with that being said, I am the essential John L. Crossfire.
And I am Nova Lee.
And as always, you guys were just caught
in conversation. Shakalaka laka.